afternoon, everyone. Howdy. Welcome to Tilson Live. It is Tuesday. It is 2 o'clock. We are coming at you live on Facebook, live on YouTube, as we do each and every week. I'm Eric Alarid, part of the fourth generation of the Tilson family. And I am joined, as I am each and every week, by our Vice President of Marketing and Customer Experience, Dawn Dantzler. Good afternoon, Dawn.
Hey, Eric. How's it going?
It's going great. We'll introduce this other gentleman here in a second. He's a repeat offender, so we're glad to have him here. But folks, obviously, as you're coming in here, drop into the chat where you are watching from, where you're building, what part of the process that you're in. Give us a howdy. We want to hear where you are watching us from, where you're building, again, what part of the process that you're in, and maybe what you're building, or maybe you're just interested. We got people from all phases of the spectrum that join us on this show. We have people from sea to shining sea. Obviously, we are a on your land home builder based in Texas. We only operate in Texas, but we come at you this show each and every week. The show is for you guys. So we're here to answer all of your questions regarding building a home on your land. So jump into the chat. Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us where you're building, what part of the process you're in. And we are joined again by one of our vice presidents of construction, veteran of this company, Mr. Tom Homer. Welcome, Tom.
Hello, folks.
All right. So as people jump in here, I'm going to, because we got people, Tom, that they may be watching us. They have not watched you before. That's possible. It's possible. Now they'll tell us that they go watch the videos, and some people do in fact go watch all these videos for whatever reason.
And they have my sincere apologies.
Right. But Tom, give us a little bit of your journey into the home building industry, and then how you wind up at Tilson, and kind of what you do leading the troopers out there. What's going on? What brought you into this industry, man?
So let's go back to 1996. I did wood floors for a living. Enjoyed that. Loved it. And then I ended up I was in Columbus, Ohio, ended up back in Houston, joined a big box builder back in late 90s, and then managed to find my way home back in 2000, I believe it was 10. Yeah. So glad to be here, and everything's going great. I am the vice president of the Gulf Coast, and I've got builders all the way up from Buffalo down to Rockport, Texas, out to Beaumont, all the way out to Shiner. So cover quite a bit of an area, but
it's a lot of territory. Yeah. So, and also grateful for what you do, man, supporting the builders out there, taking care of customers. Again, folks, jump into the chat. Tell us where you're watching from, where you're building, part of the process that you're in. Obviously, we're here to answer all of your questions regarding building on your land. You can ask us anything about that. Specifically, we have at our disposal the builder. So we can answer, in-depth construction questions. We'll go through the process for you guys, kind of, just to skip across the top of the water. Tom can take us through here in a little bit. But I know Tom also, he's built for Tilson. He also, unknown fact to a lot of people, ran and managed our customer care warranty department for a couple of years too. So Tom knows how to take care of the customers. He knows some of the aches and pains that kind of can go on during the process. He's going to help us with some of those expectations. There are apparently parts of the process where the house doesn't look complete. I don't know. This is a first. Who knew? Who knew that when you're building something out in the middle of nowhere in a very serial manner, that it doesn't just show up on the back of a truck. So we'll talk a little bit about those kind of expectations. But again, jump into the chat, folks. We are live on Facebook, live on YouTube. I know YouTube was doing something funky earlier, Dawn. It was letting people.
It was actually letting comments in from the early birds. It usually does not. If you join us before we actually go live and you put in comments, it doesn't usually come through into my system. But this time it actually did. So Lisa was actually able to get through and send her comments in. So she's saying howdy from Bandera, watching you with a hot spot in the middle of our vacant lot, looking for inspiration. Building TBD plan hopefully later this year.
Awesome. Oh, that's really cool.
Very cool. And then we've got Diana, who's watching from Coriel. She was an early bird too.
Nice. Okay.
All right. So I periodically have to ask where some of these counties are because I don't know where they are.
I can help you out. So Coriel, you're out there in the kind of the Hamilton, so northwest of Austin, quite a ways, northwest of Lampasas.
Okay.
So you got Coriel County. Evant is just on the other side in Hamilton County. Right. It's like a game. I like to play this game. This is a fun game. So that's for Coriel County. A lot of people leaving. So folks that have been displaced by the tons of people that moved into Austin and the surrounding areas. So a lot of our old Leander, Cedar Park, Pflugerville, Round Rock, Georgetown, those kind of folks that have been forced out of their place, they are starting to run to Lampasas, Hamilton, Coryell, San Saba. They're doing what Tilson folk do, which is head for the hills.
Absolutely.
Civilization found me. Let's go.
Yeah,
There's
leave Austin right now. Just saying.
Yeah. There's a super Walmart. Time to leave. We done. We done. We got Glenn living the dream. Tilson Livingston completed 1022 in Henderson County. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Glenn.
Nice. Glenn plays a guitar.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does.
He's always got the Telecaster up there.
We have Sharon coming in from Huntsville.
Howdy, Sharon. Welcome.
We got Wendy and Angelina in Republic Grand Ranch laying cable and prep for the slab today. So slab maybe next week. Awesome.
Oh.
I would think
Tom
so.
might know a thing or two about that.
Well, the weather is absolutely cooperating with us, so could be a reality for sure.
So actually, while we're on that, let's leave that comment up there because I've got the builder on here, right? So she's building a Republic Grand Ranch. We're putting what do we mean? We're putting cable prep in for slab today, Tom. What's going on? What has happened up to this point that we're here, and what happens next?
So it sounds like we have dug our trenches, our beams, and we are putting the post tension cables in, getting it ready for inspection. So if they're starting to lay cables today, it probably takes them a couple of days to do that inspection. So my prediction would be probably a slab by Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, give or take. Like I said, I'm just excited the weather is the way it is.
Super nice.
Love it. So it's good weather. It's good drying weather because we've been semi-wet, but needed rain. But I enjoy this weather. Yes,
sun and wind. Yeah. Sun and wind are good for building.
And allegedly there's supposed to be 40-mile-an-hour wind tomorrow, which like a giant hairdryer out there apparently. So that's what I saw in the weather last night.
Now, what in the world would you and I know about a hairdryer? Huh?
I've seen one.
I've heard of these things. These are things I hear about. All right. Well, very cool.
Well, that's
Thanks.
exciting. Exciting news there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love when the slab gets poured. That's always beautiful.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. And then we got Linda. Howdy. Love these Tilson videos. Thank you, Linda. Thanks for joining us. We got Bobcat Cards tuning in from San Antonio, looking to build on our land in Medina County soon.
A lot of folks in Medina County.
We got Shonda building Angelina on Richland Chambers Lake in Navarro County, ready to pour slab.
Love the slab. I love it.
Getting a lot of slabs in the ground.
Absolutely.
And we've got Will coming in from Klondike.
Howdy, Will. Welcome, friend.
And we have Sharon. I really need a custom home built. I have 6 acres of cleared land. I don't know the first step to take.
Dawn, what in the world could she do? Well, first of all, you already took the first step.
You took the first step. You're here.
You're here. You're in the right place. What happens? What happens next, Dawn? Help her out a little bit.
So what I would suggest is reach out to one of our new home specialists. You can do that either by calling them on the phone. Go to our website, get those phone numbers, reach out to them, and they can answer all of your preliminary questions that you have about what needs to be done, and get you set up to get into one of our design centers. Because the best thing to do is get in there, kind of look at the home plans, get everything customized for you, and then we can get you going and talk you through the whole process.
And I believe she's from looks like in Huntsville as well, so that would be my.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, you can go to Texas Grand Ranch and talk to our team there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but you're coming to the right place for information. If you're going to go to the internet for information, this is the place to be. So you're doing the right thing.
Yep. And then we've got Thomas. Our slab gets poured on Thursday in Curtin for our Angelina. Super excited for the weather cooperating. Got a lot of slabs going.
All right. So, question, Curtin. You have to inform, where's Curtin?
I got you, man. You're Brian. This is one of your folks. So Curtin, Texas is about 8 miles to the east of our Bryan office.
Really?
So you go through a minor metropolis called Wixon Valley. And as you go through Wixon Valley, Curtin's the next major metropolis on your way to Madisonville, but it is still in Brazos County. So it is very, very, very close to our Bryan office.
Gotcha. Okay.
Awesome.
So, a lot of slabs happening. So let's start from there, shall we? Actually, no, let's back up a little bit. So one of the first things we do, since we have the construction expert, we show up, we do what we call a site evaluation or stakeout. Tom, what are some of the things that we're looking for as our site evaluation person gets out there checking out? And again, while we're answering these questions, guys, drop your questions into the chat. Tell us where you're building, where you're watching from, any questions that you have at all about the process, design questions, finance questions, obviously construction questions, site preparation questions. We're going to talk about some utilities and things like that. But while folks hop in the chat, Tom, what are some of the things that we're looking for when we first show up to the site? Customer kind of has an idea of what house they're building. What are we trying to find out?
Well, I think first and foremost, I mean, where are we going to put this home? That's always obviously the main question. Where are we going to put this home? What kind of topography we're looking at? Is it flat? Is it what kind of is it on a hill? What do we have going on there? We're looking for utilities. How are we going to manage our utilities? The upfront, and I'll tell you that the upfront part of building a home is probably I would say the most difficult, because you're dealing with trying to get utilities in, trying to figure out where the home goes, just placing the home. So I always tell folks too, they're past the hard part of just getting to the point of building a home. I think building a home, in my opinion, is the easy part in this process, because that's a lot of work to get to that point.
Sure.
But the site preparation is crucial. I think that's where we find out a lot about that piece of property for sure. Just what needs to be done before we can actually put a house on that piece of property.
Yeah, that's right. The utilities being a major component of that, right? And that's one of the biggest difference between like the old life you were in, like you said, the production subdivision world versus the on your land world, right? So most folks that are joining us in the chat, or if they've built or been in a home before, usually it was a production deal,
Right.
even if it was a resale, and all of that infrastructure was there long before you ever set foot in the sales office or the sales model or the sales trailer in some cases.
Right.
All that was done. And so, but that's not the case when building on your land, or at least I should say it's rarely the case when building on your land. There are some instances where maybe, your neighbor has already gone through the trouble of bringing utilities down the road a little bit or something like that, or your
Right.
folks, they have a house existing there, something like that. So, but understanding that when you're building a home on your land, you're actually some people, they talk about our time frames, right? Why does it take so long? Why does it take so long to get started? Because really we're doing development and then construction.
Right.
So you gotta develop the site first. You got to get it ready to put a home on. There's
Absolutely.
in a lot of cases no power, there's no access, there's no culvert, there's no construction drive, there's no permit, certainly, because you didn't know what you were building. There's no water. We haven't decided how we're going to get wastewater away from the site, right? How we're going to do drainage, how we're going to do septic or sewer system. So all of that stuff has to be figured out before we can start. Whereas, you juxtapose that with a production build, all that's done. Like that's done.
Right.
You think you're picking the thing. You're not picking much anything.
Well, yeah, that's like, if you think about it, which I love the term that Tom used, big box. I'm going to use that from now on. When you're moving into a big box community, there's probably a good year and a half, 2 years of work that went into prepping that area to be built before the for sale sign even went out, because they've already figured out exactly what house can fit on what lot. Like, you've got this illusion of choosing your house, but like they've figured out what they're going to put where. They've already done all of that work to get everything set up, and we're kind of starting from scratch in most cases.
And that's why I stress to my builders, utilities are crucial, and that's you'll always want to start early with utilities, and those are the most important. If you can get all your utilities in, that's half the battle with building a home, especially with what we do. With the infrastructure not there, because we're having to get all those utilities, and our homeowners do a lot of work with that. So I give them a lot of credit for that, because sometimes it's not easy dealing with could be a mud district, getting a well in with the weather. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. So kudos to them, because a lot of our folks do a really good job of getting us utilities when they are needed. So I appreciate that from all those folks out there.
And Dawn, why would they need to do it? Why won't us deadbeat builders? Why don't we just do it for them? I mean, why are we so lazy? What are we doing?
Well, because the operative word in built on your land is it's your. It's yours. It's not ours. So when we're bringing in some of those utilities, you're looking at granting people easements and doing things that, since it's not Tilson's property, we can't do that for you. So we're going to need you to actually set up that account and grant that easement and do all that. We're happy to help you through it. We're happy to help nudge them along, but it's not something that we have the authority to do because you keep ownership of your property through this entire experience.
Which, by the way, is different from some other builders. There are some builders that have you sign your land over to them.
I was very shocked when you told me that. Like, that would make me, I'm a skeptical person, so that would make me very nervous that that's really strange to me that they're taking your property from you. I mean, I know it's a little, more labor intensive for you to go and grant all of that stuff, but we want you to have the security that you own that property. We don't. Like, we're never going to take that from you, in order to build on your house, on your land. So I don't know, that kind of, I was very surprised, but I did learn at the International Builders Show that a lot of people do that because they came and asked why we didn't do it. And I was like, well, why do you? Like,
yeah. That's a very real thing. Yeah, ask a lot of questions if that comes up, folks. In that. Okay, so
all I know is I'm going through Curtin, Texas next week, so I'm going through there next week. I've got it.
Yeah, you have to go check out a slab.
You'll be rolling through Curtin. You'll be rolling through there. So I see we got some more.
We do
comments. What's going on over in the chat?
We got Kristen, who is building the Canyon D in Garden Ridge. Her HVAC just got completed. She can't believe how fast things have taken off after the foundation was poured. Well, that's awesome to hear.
There we go.
That's good news. Absolutely.
We've got Thomas. Amen to the site prep being super difficult. That was tough, but the back porch view will be worth it.
There you go. There you go.
We have Anne. Hello from Rockport, building the Rio C in Lamar. The plumbers are here today. Awesome.
Hello,
so I had the pleasure of meeting Anne at Pops in Rockport, Texas. I sure did. Yep. I was very underdressed. I was in a Tilson fishing shirt, but also swimming trunks. So, but that is uniform of the day for Pops in Rockport, Texas. Totally acceptable. Yeah, I got to meet Ann and Eric, and I got to run over and take a look at their house. Sent Tom some pictures, in fact.
I've been down to Miss Newman's home a few times. Absolutely.
Very cool. Well, thanks for watching, Ann. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. We got Wendy saying that she really hopes her electric co-op gets it together by the time we need power. Us too.
Okay, so she's talking about the Sam Houston Electric Cooperative, right? Which so she's building a Republic Grand Ranch. Texas Grand Ranch was with Mid-South. Standing ovation for Mid-South, by the way. Fantastic
Absolutely.
Outfit.
Love them, yep.
And then there's Chico.
Chico used to be this.
They did.
They absolutely did. Over the past probably 5 years, they've changed quite a bit, and they've gotten a little more strict on how they operate. Not as
so
fast.
In what ways? Like, help us understand how that would affect a customer. What they used to do, what do they do now? Because every co-op is different, folks. That's why we're talking about this stuff.
I think the big thing for Chico is they don't like to put equipment or anything on the ground until they see some action. They don't want to spend money without seeing somebody else spend some money. It seems like that's kind of their MO now. They like to see something moving. They're very particular on their setup, which it's not a problem. We understand their specs. It seems like Chico runs into some things on their end, that's some big things, and they've got to go do that. They'll leave the smaller things behind. So with being a co-op, things are a little different with some. Again, Mid-South, they seem to operate a little differently. But Chico, just over the past, like I said, 5 years, I seem to think that their customer service has gotten a little lax.
They've gotten pretty big. I think, and
did they maybe grow too fast?
It can happen. Republic is its own animal, though. So hopefully, because they're doing a lot of work, one of the challenges of a co-op, right? The whole point of a cooperative, of a power co-op, like Houston County Electric Co-op, Sam Houston Electric Co-op, Guadalupe Valley Electric Co-op, Pedernales Electric Co-op, and their fiefdoms. They are, the whole point that they were made was, it's not a concentrated amount of people in one place, right? So it didn't make a lot. There's no economies of scale in trying to build a power plant and get power to 100,000 or 300,000 or 1 million people. So a bunch of people go in together funding it. That's what you're buying into a co-op when you're a part owner. When you join the co-op, when you join the cooperative, and it is a way to kind of almost, it's like the earliest form of crowdfunding, right? So you're putting the money in there together so that you can fund putting in power to Farmer Joe's house and to Dawn's house 2 miles down the road, and then to Tom's house 1.5 miles down the road from that. So I get that the infrastructure piece has always been a struggle because they don't have the economies of scale that like a CenterPoint or a TXU or one of those is going to have, Entergy, where it's a concentrated amount of houses in one place. But they do in Republic Grand Ranch, right? So what I'm hoping is, and Mid-South kind of cut their teeth. Their first big one they really did was Wood Forest there in Montgomery County. And man, when they did that, they figured it out, buddy. They had it down pat. And so that when Texas Grand Ranch came along, it was no problem. Like piece of cake, got the power in, no factor. And so I'm really hopeful because you're right. At its core, at its bones, Chico is a really good outfit. And I'm hoping that they can get some of the repetition down, and then it's kind of off to the races. I do know in some of those, sometimes the developer, because you got all kinds of entities you're working with, right? You got to get easements from the county. You got to get commissioner's court. You got this, you got that. And so there's kind of a lot going on. Texas Grand Ranch was in Walker County. Republic Grand Ranch in Montgomery County. I think we can all agree there's probably a little bit more bureaucracy in Montgomery County than there is Walker County. I can say that because I was born and raised in Montgomery County, born in Conroe, so I can talk about my people. These are my people. I am those people. So I'm very hopeful with you, Wendy, that as they get those repetitions down, it'll kind of just snowball and we'll be off to the races.
And I'm not giving Chico a bad name. I like Chico. I think they're running a great operation. I agree with you. I think they've gotten bigger. They're just a bigger player now. I've got no issues with Chico. I think they do a great job.
No, we can turn this into a power company show that we can. There's all kinds of we can complain about. I mean, I'll be glad to do that.
We've got some nominees of talking about, which actually I guess Kristen is saying that CPS was really good. CPS
is good, yeah.
But I roll, so maybe not.
Slow clap. Yeah, she's out there in Garden Ridge. The Hill Country has been a struggle. I mean,
who's CPS?
So they're out there in Garden Ridge. They're in the Hill Country. They're in Central Texas, and it's I think it's also Child Protective Services. Totally unrelated.
But this is energy. CPS Energy. We're good.
Yeah. But all that to say that we in the Gulf Coast, Houston area haven't had it nearly as bad as the folks in the greater Hill Country, man. It's been a real struggle out there. They also have this crazy thing called rock that they encounter as you're trying to put things in. Like we can pretty well, for most of the year, take a spoon, put it in the ground and make a ditch. Like it's no problem. But it's not the case as you get out west of San Antonio and beyond. So hang in there. You gotta have power. So the best thing to do is best thing to do is you can get somebody on the telephone. That's the name of the game. If you can get somebody on the phone, or even better yet, to meet you at your property, a human being that can help guide you. That's all we need. Give us their name and number. We speak their language. We'll put our site evaluators or a builder in touch with them, and we will get the code deciphered and get it done. So.
If there's one thing I can just suggest to our homeowners is get yourself educated at stakeout or when the home is, when you're doing the upfront process, find out who your utility company is, maybe have conversation with them, get information, just get as much as you can before that home starts from a utility company. You may need to meet a power consultant out there, whatever it might be, but just educate yourself on who they are, how they operate, maybe who to contact, just get that information up front. We don't want to wait till we're halfway through the process and we're trying to deal with power. So we can all work together on getting that power. It goes much more smooth.
I got
exactly what Kristen's saying. They came out after 1 month of daily phone calls. So that is dedication. Thank you, Kristen.
Absolutely.
Here's another life hack. Talk to your neighbors. If there are people out there living in homes and they have lights on at night, probably a pretty good indication that they have done this before. Absolutely. So they might give you some tips. Little bit of heartache, a little bit of shortcut, flatten that learning curve out. I'm all for flattening out the learning curve.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. We have Rachel, who is doing the final walkthrough for our Nottingham and Gillespie County this afternoon. Kyle has been amazing. So grateful for him.
Oh, awesome. Very cool.
Nice.
Glad to hear that.
That's great. Yeah, Fredericksburg is a hot area.
Yeah, Kristen's asking, most homes around us have a culvert, but we were told we don't need one. What are the reasons land wouldn't need a culvert?
Oh, mic drop on Tom Homer. Have at it, man. Why might some or not need a culvert?
Well, we were told we did not need one. I'm going to assume there's existing. I mean, what are we don't.
Yeah, in general, if you show up to a site, if you can access it, let's say, like drive a truck into it, without, and you're not going to bottom out in a ditch, you don't really have to spend the money on a culvert.
Well, that was my thought. Is there a ditch there? And we didn't need a culvert because it's just a flat access. That's the only reason why you need a culvert, if you've got some sort of ditch required by the county.
Yeah, so and a lot of, and like I said, we're already at, her HVAC is put in, right?
Yeah,
we've obviously proven. She's talking about how fast things were taken off after the foundation was poured. So that's really the bulk of the heavy equipment. Am I right, Tom? Like once we get the foundation in.
Oh, once you get that done, yeah. There's a little bit more after that, but mostly, yeah. If you're gonna do any damage or anything, it's gonna be up front for sure.
Yeah. So no, what we don't want to do, and again, we do default to our site evaluation guys, and in some cases the county if they require it. But what I have seen is people put a culvert in and don't need a culvert. I actually have a neighbor who did that right across the county road from me. They already had a culvert delivered and paid for it and had it installed, and what they have is a gigantic hump. So you go from the county road over their culvert down onto their land. It's just this hump, and quite frankly, you could bottom a trailer out on that. Like if you were hauling a gooseneck or something like that, a cattle trailer or a flatbed, it's gonna hang up on it. So you don't necessarily, if drainage still work, like if you can still have enough where water can still flow and you can still cross into there with cars and trucks, there's no reason to have a culvert, because the culverts do have to be maintained. You got to mow around them, you got to edge around them, you sometimes have to clean them out, sometimes they can silt up. So it's something that if you can get by without having to do it, I say go for it. And it's very common in the hill country that you don't have to have a culvert.
Is that where Mrs. Glendo is? That's a hill country, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Anne is saying it was great to see you at Pops.
It was fun.
We've got Andy and DFW heading to Houston, slab pour tomorrow. Travis A in Fort Bend. Awesome.
Very cool.
I love slabs. I love seeing all the slabs. I just like seeing all this slab. This is awesome.
And they're all happening where you are. That's
awesome. Absolutely. Good stuff.
We've got Armanda, who will be building in Red Rock, Texas, Caldwell County. What is y'all's experience with Blue Bonnet?
Okay, Blue Bonnet Electric Co-op. Tom, you've probably got a little bass drop out there every now and then. Pretty rare for you, wouldn't it be?
I'll be honest with you. I've heard Blue Bonnet's name maybe once or twice. No experience.
Yeah, so Blue Bonnet's historically been pretty easy to work with. They got offices, that's stretching on out there for them. Caldwell County, because you're talking about Lockhart, that kind of area down there. I think they're headquartered in the Bastrop area. I know they have offices in Brenham. They kind of mess over into the Brenham area, and then they get all the way down like what you're talking about, that down there in Red Rock, Lockhart, those areas. But Blue Bonnet is a very, very common. They've been around a long time. They had a little hiccup with some wildfires there a little bit in Bastrop in 2009, but got that all sorted out, and they learned a lot of valuable lessons about maintaining lines that have pine trees around them. So they don't call those the lost pines for no reason, right? They're pine trees in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't make any sense. There's no pines to the east or west of that hardly until you get all the way into East Texas. But that's really, we haven't had issues to speak of. I mean, the fact that Tom doesn't hear the name a whole lot usually is a pretty good indicator that we don't have
problems. That usually means they're pretty good.
So maybe that's why I recognize the name, because isn't that where you get off in Brenham, you go through there, make that circle, and there's a deal on the left there?
Correct.
Okay, that's probably why.
Yep, that's exactly right. Yeah, across from the Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
I was just through there moments ago.
Wendy says that Patton has told her to let the builders handle Chico, but if you need me to go Karen on them, let me know. Okay.
Leave it to the developer to tell the builder to do it. So shocked. Thanks, Patton.
Yeah.
Really, to be honest with you, you need to let the members handle the co-op, right? You are part owner. Obviously, we will communicate them to whatever degree we need to, but you're stuck with them and they're stuck with you. That's life. You are a member and you'll be paying them money in perpetuity for your power. You could get a dividend from them. That does happen. You get a check at the end of the year sometimes.
Oh, nice.
They'll do distributions. All co-ops, almost all co-ops do that. But yeah, that's the voice of the members are I think you vote on the directors. Like they have to come from the membership. It's a whole ordeal. Like it is a company. It is a cooperative.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Republic Grand Ranch probably has numbers. So, like, if all the people who own land in Republic Grand Ranch get together, you might have some.
Now, Chico has an inspection process. They do have field inspectors.
Oh, nice.
Typically, we can get a hold of those inspectors. They sometimes do not communicate with the builders. They'll just go out there and inspect, and then the homeowner has to call them and say, "Hey, did you inspect? Did it pass?" I mean, there's a lot of follow up with Chico. That's the one thing that was a little difficult with them. They didn't leave tags or didn't leave anything out there. Say, "Hey, you're good. Go ahead and we're good to go here." It was just sort of this silent thing, but you may need to just follow up with after, if you have an inspection, follow up with them or get with the builder. There are some numbers we can contact inspectors.
Yeah, we can help you with that. That's a great tip.
Great. We've got Nieva building the Angelina and Helotes. Hoping to hear from the builder Wayne on the date when they are going to pour the foundation soon.
Well, we will. I see Tom making notes. I'll bet you he can reach out to.
But you're going to get a call real soon.
The folks out there, out to the west.
You see how excited I am about slabs. So I want this person to have a slab. So let me find that out for her. Absolutely.
You bet. We'll let you know, Nieves.
All right. We've got Vince asking, are there any title actions that need to happen for the BML to close? If so, who completes those actions? Tilson or the lender or me if I pay cash?
Whoo, great question, Vince. So he's got some abbreviations going on. So I'm going to, for the sake of the audience, I'm going to expand on this a little bit, Vince, if you'll indulge yourself.
Appreciate that.
So title actions. He's talking about, is there anything that the title company needs to do? Any recordings that have to happen? So when you come to build a home with Tilson Homes, and we'll talk about two different ways because you're talking about lender or loan deal. You're going to sign either way, whether it's cash or you're involving a loan. You're going to sign you're going to sign a promissory note to us. So it's a promise to pay. So for the contract amount of the home, that's a promissory note, just like you would sign any other if you're going to buy a house in a subdivision. And then you're also going to sign a builders and mechanics lien contract with power of sale. So that basically enforces the promise. So you're promising to pay us the amount of the home once it's complete, obviously upon substantial completion. And if you decide not to pay us or whatever builder you're going with, then you're giving that person the authority to foreclose on your land and sell it. Sounds really scary and terrifying. It's the exact same thing you do when you sign a mortgage. You're signing a deed of trust. You're signing a promissory note. It's the exact same. A mortgage is a promise to pay. That's a promissory note, and the mortgage gives that promise teeth, backing.
That is not giving us ownership of your property. Nope. That's different.
No. Putting a lien on it. So here's what happens. So you got a promissory note and a builders and mechanics lien contract with power of sale. That's the BML, builders and mechanics lien. This is a very Texas thing. Okay. So if you're building out of state of Texas, this probably doesn't apply to you, although it'll be some form of this transaction. All right. So if so, who completes those actions? So us and the lender and the title company are going to work through that. So let's go with the loan deal first. That's the easiest. Well, it's not really the easiest. This is the one that came to my head first. That's what we're going to go with. We'll do the cash deal here in a second. So on a loan deal, what's going to happen is you're going to have a lender. We're going to be communicating with that lender. That lender is going to give us a commitment letter, a promise, basically, hey, we vetted this person, we vetted Mr. and Mrs. Flowers. There was a moment in time where they had the funds to pay for this house, and here's the paperwork to prove it. We got everything. We got the W-2s, we got the retirement accounts, we got it all, and they are good to go. They are credit worthy. We would finance this, and we get that I call a little warm fuzzy. We build that house from zero to completely finished out of our own back pocket. You're not paying any interest. There's no interest accruing. There's no construction loan payments. None of that is happening. Upon completion, okay, you've done your walkthrough with Tom and his team. They've done the orientation. They've completed their punch out list. Everything's working like you want it to. The paint looks good. Everybody's happy. And then the title company, we're going to work with the title company to schedule a closing. All right, we're going to schedule the closing of the title company. The lender's going to be aware of that because they're going to be wiring funds. So at closing, you are going to go to the title company. You're going to have an appointment. You're going to sit down with their escrow officer. They're going to sign a whole bunch of papers. And what's going to happen is that promissory note and that builders and mechanics lien contract, that BML, is going to be assigned to whoever gives us the money. So your lender, let's say it's a AMCAP mortgage, we are going to assign our promissory note and the builders and mechanics lien over to them. They now tote the note. So you have signed a mortgage with them. Now you've promised to pay them the amount of money. So you're promising to pay us the money with a promissory note and a builders and mechanics lien. You're just promising to do that in the form of a loan, in the form of a mortgage. Okay. If you pay cash, so that's how you do that. Hopefully that answers that question. If you pay cash, so you sign the same builders and mechanics lien contract, power sale, the same promissory note. You're still promising to pay us. You are making payments through construction. Okay. And then you don't make your last payment. I believe it's 5% until what we just talked about with Tom. You finish, you walk through your homeowner orientation, the punch out list, all that kind of stuff. Then once that's all been satisfied, you pay us that last 5%. You can give it to your builder. You can wire it to us, whatever. Right, Tom? And then we actually will file for you the release of lien. So we file a release of lien and you get the original release of lien in the mail after recording. That depends on the county. Some of them do it electronically. We can get it within a week. Some it takes like 6 weeks to get it. But regardless, we are going to release the lien once we're paid in full, and you'll have a release of lien showing that the builders and mechanics lien contract with power sale has been released on your property. That's how it works.
Okay. All right. And we've got Will saying, if y'all are around Greenville area, Farmers Electric Co-op has really been good. So
yeah, they're good folks. He's out in Delta County in a lot of places.
Yeah. We've got Julie saying, hey, y'all, pro tip, build on a private road deep into the outlying areas of the county. No entities care what you do, and the neighbors have all the info on who to call for everything. There you go.
Amen.
Yep.
We've got our friend from Florida coming in. I have an off-topic question. What's the crime like, or how safe is it in Houston? You guys don't have to be experts or anything. I'm just wondering because most people I ask say not to move to Houston or take precautions, and it's like the Miami of Houston. So I wanted to hear your guys' opinions. Thanks. And he is looking at, if I remember correctly, Texas Grand Ranch or Republic Grand Ranch. We're not actually looking at City of Houston, which is
but let's talk Houston though. Let's talk Tom.
All right, let's talk about Houston.
What do you want to talk about? I don't live in Houston.
Do you go? Would you go jogging at night in Houston?
No.
Let me ask a better question. If you were inclined to exercise, which I don't know, maybe yeah, maybe not. Yeah, so Houston proper, friend from YouTube. Mm-hmm. I would not. Unless you just have to, like someplace. But look, a lot of people do. It's the 4th largest city in America. Okay, it's no joke. It's huge.
Some folks like New York, stuff.
Yeah, LA, Chicago, Houston, and there ain't a whole big difference between Chicago and Houston. But those places I just rattled off, I mean, most of the people building with us are building for a reason. Yes, Dawn?
Right. Yes. They've kind of get away from that.
Yeah, they've kind of been there and done that. They're ready to get out of the city scene, mainly the traffic. I mean, forget the crime.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. There is crime in Houston. Okay, to answer your question in short, yeah, there's crime. There's gangs. There's all the things that a large city has with it. Huge police force, great police force, but they have to have a large, great police force because
they need a large, great police force.
And big cities bring things that big cities bring. So it is, obviously it's a big corridor for illegal immigration, which makes it, some of those folks are acting nefarious ways. Not all of them. In fact, not even most of them. I said some of them. And they're bringing things up through Houston. It's the first city they're going to hit when the big city they hit when they come across the border. So yeah, there's a lot of drugs, a lot of illegal activity that moves through like that. I mean, it's just part of the deal. So knowing that going in, that's why Houston is a big sprawl city. Most people, when they say they're from Houston or they're in Houston, they are not in Houston. They're not inside the loop, certainly not inside the Beltway even. Like they're on the outskirts, right? They're Pearland, they're Conroe, they're Katy, they're Richmond, they're Rosenberg, they're right. I mean, Huntsville even now, Columbus, Weimar, Sealy. These are all things, Sugar Land. These are all considered the greater Houston area, but they're not in Houston proper.
Right. We've got Kristen saying she's originally from Houston and would never move back, but the outskirts are great. So the areas that you're talking about in Huntsville and Republic Grand Ranch, all of that, like you'd be okay. But yeah, downtown Houston's a really big city and has everything that comes with that, including the good sides of it. It's got good shows,
great food,
museums,
probably the most underrated food city in the world. Not even kidding. I will put that out there. We have the best food.
Because a lot of people like to eat after dark, so that limits the.
Houston's great for food. Fantastic food.
Absolutely,
We've got Armanda saying, currently still making some customizations to the floor plan. At what point should we go ahead and get a pre-approval? Can we do that before we sign the contract? If so, how long is that pre-approval good for? She's dealing with AMCAP.
Yeah, I mean, I would go ahead and get pre-approved. If you have it pretty well decided which house you want and roughly, budget amount, what you think you're going to end up spending, absolutely. Go ahead and get a pre-approval. I would actually have your salesperson in that dialogue with you, the one doing the design stuff, because we're on a first name basis with the folks at AMCAP, Taylor, Matt, Bob, all those folks over there. So I just said first names. That's how we're on first name basis. You don't even know if I said the right names or not. I did, but you don't know that. So I would have your consultant in part of that dialogue. That way they can, but there's no reason you couldn't go ahead and get pre-approved. You don't have to wait till after you sign the contract. In fact, I would do it before I sign the contract. But
I would too, as I'm getting into finalizing all those things to know exactly how much house I was going to be able to afford, because you'd hate to like customize it and then have to make decisions about what to take out and be a little brokenhearted that you can't.
Yeah. It's usually a 48-hour turnaround. I mean, it doesn't take a long time. Now, how long is it good for? I mean, any pre-approval for us, I'm trying to say, how do I say this? It is important, but it doesn't really determine anything, really. It is a pre-approval. It's exactly that. It's approval. Hey, it's a cursory glance of what you got going on. They're going to check your credit. They're going to see, ask what kind of income you make. It's whatever you tell them, apart from the credit score. They're going to know that for sure. But it is a pre-approval. It doesn't mean it. So the approval will come. That's the really, really important one. They're like, okay, you said you do this or make this or your debt is this. Now let's see it. We want to see your last 2 years W-2s, your last 30 days bank statements, your last 2 months pay stubs, your retirement accounts. Like they will start collecting this data to underwrite which is you're shoring up the loan to make, hey, this is a solid loan, solid deal. Not only do they have the good credit or whatever, they have all of the things to back it up. So a fully documented, underwritten loan approval. So as far as the pre-approval goes, I mean, it's probably good for 30, 60 days, something like. It'll have some kind of a time frame on it. But for us, it's not nearly as important or mission critical as the actual commitment letter, the fully underwritten loan approval.
Okay, makes sense. We've got Danielle seeing a building near Medina Lake, Hill Country. Love it there. What are your thoughts on the area?
Well, I think right now it's not a lake. It's part of the problem with Medina Lake. It's the Medina crater right this second. But so the area is fantastic. I mean, Medina Lake, the Hill, Bandera, Medina, all those areas. Again, you are going to be among like-minded people who are getting out of San Antonio. They're getting out of the city. They're moving west. They're headed out that way. And that's what Bandera, Medina, all those areas are all about. Medina Lake is historically a fantastic lake. It does dry up because it gets dry in the Hill Country. So it's not a constant level lake. There are not very many of them out there. Yeah, it's beautiful. And a lot of folks are moving. I think there was a point in time last year where Medina County, we had more homes under construction in Medina County than any other county in Texas for like a 4-month period. So
Yeah.
obviously it's popular for people wanting to build on their own land and do their own thing and live an independent lifestyle, because that's all we do.
Awesome. We got Sarah saying, I've been hearing a lot of trim issues in the build process. What is being done to address this?
Tom.
Well, that's kind of a pretty broad. Trim issues. I'd have to. I'm going to
maybe she's been having. I don't know if she's been having or hearing about. She says hearing.
I'm hearing a lot of trim issues in the build process. What is being done to address this? It's kind of hard to.
Okay, so let's just say, what do we do if someone's having trim issues or paint issues? What's the process? Like, what would you expect a customer to do, and how would you expect us to respond?
So that's why I'm going to assume that's interior trim. So we're probably talking baseboards, doors, casing. Depending on what your issues are we talking square? Are we talking just actual installation, poor installation? So I guess first I would suggest getting with your builder and maybe having a meeting with them to walk the trim of the home, just to maybe get some insight from your builder to see what you're seeing. That would be the first thing I would do. There could be some that needs to be replaced, could be damaged trim, possibly. Maybe the painter had some issue he was trying to fix, maybe some spots didn't come out right. I would love to know where this is. That would be great. So if Sarah, you could reply back and let us know where you're at, that would be helpful.
And so that's if it's let's say that it was so windowsill, door casing, baseboard, something like that. What if it's cabinet? What if that's the trim we're talking about? What would the expectation? What could be happening there? How's that repaired, fixed?
So you've got probably two things. There cabinets could be a check and adjust. We could have to adjust some doors, maybe not closing properly, maybe not level. There's two different ways to address cabinets. Second thing would be your trim. So you may have some nail holes that maybe need some putty, maybe just some touch up. We can touch up cabinets just because they have some scratches or a little bit of some install issues. We can still fix those things. Damage, different story, but there are some touch ups that can be done on trim, cabinet doors, cabinet faces, those sort of things. So it's all going to depend on what we're looking at.
Yeah, one of the other things I would say, and I'm going to address it as you've written it, Sarah, is I've been hearing a lot of trim issues in the build process. What's being done to address this? So I'll kind of broadly speaking, here's kind of some of the things we're doing. Obviously, on-site supervision is a big one. That's what Tom and his guys, that's what they do. That's what they're there for. But an extra set of eyes never hurts, right? I mean, you're going to see things that perhaps they don't see. They're human beings, right? Yeah. And so that's totally fine. Make note of it. Make your builder aware. There's a very good chance they're going to see things that you don't see. That's okay too. That's a good thing. So that's the base level. That's what's done no matter what. I will tell you in other cases, our vendors look for things the ways they can do this better. The way they're shipping. I know we just moved over to a different trim supplier altogether. We switched over to DW Supply, and we've been very, very happy getting things from the vendor that McCoy's used to use. That helped out a lot, particularly with just the availability of things, not only getting it, but getting quality stuff in a reasonable time frame. That was a huge deal. That's probably also some of the trim issues you've been hearing about. It was kind of hard to get stuff, and you kind of got what you got for a brief amount of time, and we had to kind of work with it, creating kind of an undue burden on prep work for painters and some of that kind of stuff. Stuff was being shipped. It was being damaged in shipment. It would be damaged at the job site when it got there. So that's the stuff that Tom and his team have to contend with every day. And then I knew also the cabinet company has made some adjustments in the way that they are assembling and shipping to try and minimize damage as cabinets go out in a pretty significant way. So they do listen to feedback.
You saw the trim issues. I did not think about the supply issue. So to be honest with you, I'm with you, Eric. I don't think we have that now. Good. I think there's still going to be a little back order here and there, but it is not as great as it was 6 to 12 months ago. So we've rectified that.
Okay, awesome. Well, Will is saying, good to see y'all. Got to get stuff ready for garden season. Got to get the brooder house ready as well. Texas does have some of the best food, especially if it's not a chain business. Y'all have a blessed day and week. Thank you, Will.
All right, Will. Thanks for joining us, man. Yeah, so let's finish out construction. So as someone gets close to the end, there's a couple of buzz questions. What, tell us kind of day in the life of a builder, Tom. Like, it's not something we take a lot of time talking about on here, but give us a kind of a rundown, day in the life. What do they do? They hop up in the morning and they get on, Nintendo and start gaming.
So our builders, we call them routes, right? We don't just go zigzag across the state. We cover a pretty broad area. So we ask our builders or train them to design a route each day. So they could go to one half of the area one day, second half the next. So they're not utilizing their time to spend more time in each home. So first route, or maybe today's route, they're going to different phases of the home, making notes, scheduling for that home. Some homes are going to spend a little more time at, simply because what part of the process they're in. Let's just say, for instance, a slab. A lot of slabs being poured. There's a lot that goes into those, a lot of pre-check that goes into those. There's some things that folks don't see. We get forms set, we check forms. We get plumbing set, we check the plumbing, we measure the plumbing. And then we're going back after the cables. As one lady had referenced, we're putting some cables in. So that process there, some guys could spend an hour or two out there just measuring. Frame, same way. Guys are spending a lot of time in a frame. Always think of this frame and foundation. Those are your bones, right? Those are probably where they're spending a lot of time checking, double checking, measuring. Just those are crucial parts of the home. Could be parts where it's get to some finishings, right? We're going to go in there, get close to close. Maybe you're 30 days out ish, somewhere's around there. So now it's time to start taking some notes. What are we missing? What needs to be done? Who do I need to get back here? It's punch out time, as Eric referenced earlier. Punch out. Punch out means we're making notes. We're making a list for maybe the trim carpenter, maybe the painter, maybe the electrician's missing a couple of things. So we're making notes as the home's getting closer to close, sending these notes out to everybody. So day in the life of a builder, it depends on where that job is. Obviously, what stage that job is, that's going to depend on how much time they're spending there. But I think, in my opinion, front end, back end, that's where a lot of the builder's time is spent. Finishing a home is, you got all those people that just put all that stuff in the house. Now, a lot of those people need to come back because maybe they're missing some parts of that stuff. So you're making all these lists at the end. So the middle part, I think, it flows. I'm a flow guy. I love when things flow, and I think guys get in a rhythm. And building a home, I think you get in a rhythm building a home. You've got good trades. You got everybody showing up. It goes real well. So the middle part is kind of your part where you can flow a little bit. Front end, back end, those are your two ends that really take a lot of your time.
Very cool. Thank you for answering. We will do a last call for Q&A. So drop your questions in here. Tom has given us an hour of his time here in about another 5 minutes. So we'll ask for a last call. If you got questions, YouTube, Facebook, drop them into the chat. We want to hear from you guys. If you have something or just a really kind thing to say, how great Tom is or how great Dawn is, they love to hear that too. Because they really are great. That's totally fine. But in that vein, Tom, tell us a little bit about, so time frames are going up or coming down. How are we doing?
Time frames are coming down, Eric. As mentioned with the trim. So I think things are, I don't like to use the word normal in this business, but they're getting, and I'm going to speak for the Gulf Coast probably mainly, I think they're getting pretty close to being normal here. Not hearing a lot of the buzz of can't get this, can't get this, can't get this. It's folks are showing up, folks are coming out and doing their job. When we call folks, they're on time. So I think times are coming down. With material now, manufacturers getting back up, trades are here. So to answer your question, they are coming down for sure.
Yeah, we're seeing that on the front end as well.
And I think that's around the state. I'm going to speak for myself as well, but I think around the state as a whole, Tilson, we are coming down. North Texas and Central Texas for sure. It's coming down for sure.
Very cool. Very cool.
Very good.
All right. Well, hey,
Glad
Tom,
to hear that.
man, I really, really appreciate you doing this with us, man. Thank you for carving the time out of your day. I know you're a busy, busy guy. So thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you having me. I can't wait till next time.
But you'll be quick on the draw next time. Dawn, thank you for putting this on. Appreciate it. I think either Amanda or Kelsey or Rachel, somebody in the background is answering questions. So thank you guys for doing that. And obviously thank each and every one of you guys for watching this. All these videos that we do are for you. They're to make sure that you have the best information to make the best decision you possibly can for you and your family. That's the whole point of this. We know this stuff, so we don't have to sit here and we do it so that you have the right information. There's all kinds of places you could go get wrong information. We're just a little bitty voice out here in the wilderness trying to give you the right information.
Absolutely.
So we're glad you gave us a shot. We hope that you find this stuff beneficial, and we genuinely soon hope to make you part of the Tilson family. We'll see you guys later.
Bye, everybody.
Adios.